Welcome to the Craig and Greg Show, presented by Maximize Leadership. Now, here are Craig Owens and Greg Harris.
Hey, welcome back. It's another great episode. I'm anticipating that right up front of the Craig and Greg Show, so a lot of pressure on you.
Very
Greg.
a lot of pressure.
I'm kind of tired. You're going to have to carry it today. So, all right.
What do you weigh?
Hey, as a leader, like it or not, there are some things that you're going to have to carry in your organization. There's going to be some things you are going to have to deal with that probably one of the things that you're like, I'd rather not. And that's some of the behaviors among your staff that if you're not watchful and if you're not quick enough to step in, they can become toxic and can spread throughout your organization. And then it becomes a lot more difficult to deal with. And so want to talk about, unpack some of these toxic behaviors. So let's just, before we start talking about, because I think a lot of the principles are the same, just off the top of your head, what are a couple, three toxic things or things that could start in an organization that you think, if they're not checked, they can grow pretty quickly?
I think a negative speak.
Yeah.
Could be a lot of forms.
I'd put in that negative speech, I talk about gossip.
That's negative. Yeah, it
Talking
doesn't
about
build
other
anybody
people.
up.
Yep.
Yeah. Just negative speech. I would say, gossip would be a cut down people or picking on people. I was thinking about toxic, Craig, that it's maybe a little overused, the word, without defining. So hopefully for you all, we'll define it a little better, particularly if you allow it.
Right.
And now it becomes part of your culture.
Right.
I would say detrimental might be another word, like detrimental to the culture, detrimental to your company's mission, vision, and so forth. I think selfishness in your culture, that could be, hoarding resources.
So silos.
That's your side of the department, but my side is more profitable, and we got more applications for new jobs. Just a little bit of a, maybe not a team player, but a selfish one, and certainly silos would be one. And if it's one company, we need as leaders to encourage, hey, share resources, share ideas, share talent, share time. What else? What do you have for like a detrimental or toxic?
I think one of the big ones for me is, and it probably maybe goes with a little bit of what you were just saying, is the scarcity. Like, I'm not going to share with you because I think that there's only this much. And that one, that can be anywhere in the organization that people like, I'm not going to share a lead with you.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to share, whatever. What about that staff member? No, they work in my department.
They answer to me.
They can't go, just. But here's one of the things that I think, and maybe leaders, you've experienced this too. Let's think about in our physical body for a second. I'm sure that all of us have had a time where there's something that hurts, and it's not like that debilitating pain. Like I can't even concentrate on anything else that's hurt so bad. It's just a little annoying. And maybe you bump it every once in a while and you're like, ow, ow, ow. Okay, it hurts a little bit more. And you're like, okay, it's just going to heal. It'll be fine. And then one day it's not fine. It's like, wow, now it is hurting a little bit more. And now I'm thinking about this pain more than I'm thinking about other stuff. And now I'm not so much worried about bumping it, and I'm babying it. And then, well, wait a minute, the pain is now spreading, and it's not just in that one spot. And you finally go to a urgent care or go to your doctor, and they're like, why didn't you come in sooner? Right? But you're like, well, but it sort of crept in there. At first, it was hardly noticeable. And I think in a lot of our organizations that probably, you're like, oh, I don't need to jump on that right now. That's just me being reactionary, me being too sensitive to something. Well, just let it work out. It'll work itself out. And sometimes it might, but a lot of times without you stepping in there, before you know it, this hurts so much that that's all you're thinking about, and you're not thinking about everything else in the organization. So I think that's where I think some of these things, you use the word toxic, and defining that, maybe, we talk about in our bodies where it becomes septic. It's now gone from just it was just a little finger, and now it's in my whole bloodstream. that's, as leaders, we don't want to get to that spot. We want to keep it.
Well, and it's not even just us leaders.
Right.
It's others that we know and we're hoping to develop and love on and care for. If you see it in them, we have an opportunity.
Yep.
You mentioned like just, it'll take care of itself. I think a detrimental behavior, I don't know if it's toxic, would be like avoiding. Dealing with something, maybe procrastinating, just, I just don't want to talk to that person right now. I'm just not in the headspace. Well, a week goes by, 2 weeks go by. You're like, my teaching moment's gone.
Yes.
Right. They're like, I don't remember that, or,
right.
Well, it worked itself out. That's probably another add-on to a detrimental behavior or what's allowed. How do you see the treatment of a toxic environment? As a leader, you may have gotten into an organization that had toxicity,
yep.
and you're like, okay, so I got to try to lead through this, and maybe you weren't the CEO, but you're still in leadership. Obviously, I think you are an amazing leader. What did you do to kind of, I don't say fix it, but change the direction? Or
one of the hard things, we've talked about culture before in organizations. Culture, for the most part, is unwritten rules. Like, this is how we do things around here, and it's sort of it's unwritten. Nobody's going to think to write those things down. I think that's been one of the big things for me is like, what is the culture here? Like, what is allowed?
Ooh.
How do you address some of these things, or are there some things that especially if you're not the point leader? Oh, I've discovered that those things over there we just don't talk about. Yes. We just don't bring them up, and even though everybody knows they're there, we just don't talk about them. And I think that's the first thing, is that you have to figure out what those cultural rules are. Now, if you're the point leader, you can come and say, I don't care the way that the culture's been before. We're making a new culture here, and it's going to be a healthier environment. And we do need to address this over here because it's affecting a lot of people.
I have one example. I won't use names, but I have one example. A fellow partner wanted to hire their son, and he was not a good fit. Like he wouldn't have been on a radar if 100 people applied. But you couldn't address it performance-wise, failing, struggling, because there was this. That's the son of one of the partners.
Sure.
So I think sometimes that can be a detrimental. Like, hey, we're held to the same standards. I don't care if your last name's on a sign. And we're all gonna do this, And I do think that's a challenge. That just popped in my head from an example of, don't go there. Why? Because that's one of the partner's sons. He's not doing good.
Right.
He's not doing this, or he's not treating this way, or he's not following up, or he's not winning. So what do? We dive into it, or no? Don't go there. Okay, now we have a detrimental quality in our.
Sure.
Not quality, I guess it's a flaw.
We talk about in our Business by the Book about for CEOs vision casting. One of your chapters that you wrote in that book, you talked about things that will distract from the vision, and one of them I think falls under this category of the detrimental or toxic things, and that's when people are so busy with these communications among themselves, the squabbling among themselves, they've forgotten to look at, there's the vision. We're supposed to be going this way, but they're looking at all this, and how's this going on?
Took their eye off the ball.
And I think that's one of the things that a leader needs to ask about, trying to determine, do I need to address this topic or not? Like, if I don't address this, is it going to, people's eyes are going to be over here and not on the vision anymore? Well, then I need to step in and address it. Mm-hmm. If it's something that, they can still follow this, and this is just a minor disagreement, that's kind of like, well, I hurt this, but it's going to heal. Okay, good. So now we can move on. But I think that's where leaders probably need to start, is by saying, is this going to distract people from eyes on the prize, eyes on the ball, eyes on the vision? Right. Then I need to step in sooner rather than later, a lot sooner rather than later.
If toxic behavior comes from a person that's kind of affecting the quality of the water in the pool, how have you handled that?
I usually start off with questions. I like a lot of questions, and not like, I don't mean that in the sense of like, say, a prosecuting attorney that I'm asking the questions to try to get to that moment where I'm like, okay, judge, did you hear that? But really for their own ears to hear it and process it. So like, questions like, when you behaved like that, what did you expect the outcome was going to be? Did you consider how your teammates would feel as a result of this?
Yeah.
Because that tells me a little bit too about maybe some of the culture that I might have inherited in my organization.
Good point.
It might tell me a little bit about their own personal baggage that they bring in, because then I see what issue finally I can deal with here. Yeah. If I just walk in and just say, you did this happened, I'm probably going to make some assumptions. And I'm also, once I start making declarations with periods at the end or exclamation points at the end, that other person's just building up a wall. And then you really do have some battle lines drawn. But the questions, I'm hopeful that I'm drawing them to the spot where they go, yeah, I see what happened there.
There's a situation, I won't bring up names again, but so one department was having a little difficulty with Billy. He was toxic, detrimental, wasn't helping, was a distraction, right? And so they convinced another department person to take him. So now we have 2 toxic departments.
Right.
I mean, just if you don't address it and you just move them,
right,
which it's not really leadership, that's kind of management of yuck.
Sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, okay, so some other manager now or leader is dealing with the toxic person. And now we've got 2 divisions or 2 departments that have the experience of toxic. And what we permit, what we allow, whether it's omission or commission, really does set the course for the company.
Sure.
You've had some wonderful turnaround stories in your career of taking an organization, a company, and making it better, making it more efficient, making it more relevant, making it more profitable. And I'm sure there's a story in there of having to deal with someone who was toxic or detrimental to the business. How common do you think that is?
Not very, because it's always surprised people. Like, I remember having to deal with a gossiper. And, somebody had come to me. She said that he said that she said, and then I could trace it back to the person. And I remember just going right to them, knocking on the door, and I said, I understand that you have something to say to me.
Gossip about you.
Yeah. No, I don't really, because I've heard from there's been several other people that you've been talking to, and they can't solve your problem, but I probably can, since I'm the leader here. So don't you want to have the conversation with me? Well, I'm not ready to talk to you right now. Okay. Well, I would be more than happy to make time for us to talk. So, what time would you like that to be? And we picked a time. I said, okay, so between now and then, do you think it'd be a good idea for you to be talking to other people? Or do you think that you could wait and hold those comments until you and I have a chance? Yeah, I should probably just talk to you. Yep, I think so as well.
Bingo.
And then when we came in, one of the things that she ended up, like at the beginning, she goes, well, I heard that this was, where'd you hear that from? Well, from so-and-so. Where do you think that they heard it? I don't know. So once again, so I said, why don't you just ask me the question? She asked me, and I said, well, here's the answer. And she goes, oh, that's not what I thought at all. Yeah. So
you thought?
Can we walk away from something here? Can we walk away? I asked her, this is one of our last things, was with an understanding that the best communication is directly between these 2 people and not trying to get your message to me by talking to 5 other people around the thing. And she said, yeah. And it really did help from that point on. She really got it. But I was just like, and I know, hey, listen, I'm sure some people watching are very kind of confrontation adverse. You don't like to have that confrontation. And that's not my style either. I don't relish like walking up to somebody and going, hey, you and I need to talk, because I don't enjoy doing that.
Right.
But I also have to say, behind you, I have a whole organization. I need to address, you because it's impacting the entire organization.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to become septic, gets in the bloodstream of everywhere else.
I'm going to throw out a word from a culture that I was a part of, and we had over 100 people, so it was a little difficult to, sequester gossipers, but the damage done. For us leaders, we kind of want to fix it and, make it better and shine it up and put it back on the floor. At some point, leaders might have to finally admit that probably not a good fit.
Yep.
And those are hard conversations if you haven't met with the person to say, hey, if you're gossiping or if you're a silo, this is not very helpful for the rest of the team. Yes, you have all the food on your table, but the rest of us need food too, and you're going to keep it on your table because it's your department or whatever. Right. What would you say to that? How would you advise us?
Well, one of the things, I think if you come to that spot where you have to let somebody go, it should never be a surprise to that person.
Amen.
Because you've had conversations with them.
Yeah.
And then some of my parting questions have been where I've said to the person when we finally get near that end, are you happy here? Do you like working here? No, I really don't. Okay. Well, good. It shows because we've given you multiple opportunities.
Yeah.
We've tried this. Yeah. We've tried this, and you're still not getting it. So we're just going to have to part ways. But that should never be a surprise to anybody that, we've never had this conversation before.
That's a good warning because, I've been around a few people that were very quick decision makers, and it caught most everyone off guard. Like, so you've been harboring these feelings about me? Well, shame on you. If you're a leader or partner, talk to me, And I think a lot of staff got bamboozled and knocked over because outside of other things, behaviors, it was very difficult for him to be calm, cool, and collective. Like, hey, I'd like to visit with you. Got a couple good things, couple things to maybe we can improve on. No, it was just a blast.
Yep. And
the person was like,
there was that is a point that actually you helped me on when I was writing my book, When Sheep Bite. And I was exploring it because you were reading the chapters as I was sending them to you. And I was exploring that idea of like a leader pausing to say, well, why did the sheep bite me? I mean, I'm the shepherd that's providing for them. Why did they bite me? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you like challenged me on exploring a little bit more was that, asking them, like going back, not being quick on the trigger and just going, you bit me, wham, right. You're out of here. You're out of the flock. Mm-hmm. But to say, well, wait a minute, why did you bite me? Because if we think about it, it's not a good business move on your part. Nope. It's not a good strategy on your part to alienate the person that's can provide for you. So that the one maybe that's signing your paycheck, if we want to put it that way,
or responsible for your development, or whatever. It's like, well, yeah.
So to say, okay, wow, if you got to that point where you bit me, maybe there was something that I had been overlooking. Maybe there had been something that I'd been missing, and so using that as an opportunity to get into those conversations because. I think it's being too quick or being too slow. Neither one of those things are going to help in your organization.
All right. Over, under.
Yeah.
You're in leadership. What's the % that you're going to procrastinate and not deal with it? 100. And then the remaining would be, too quick trigger.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, okay. So let me answer.
This is going to be good. He's already doing it.
As a younger leader, I was too quick to deal with things.
Okay.
And I think that I mean, of course, you would love to say I'm 50-50, right? Too slow, too fast. I'm right in the middle. I probably err on the side of being a little too slow now. Like some people around me now will say, wow, you're extending more mercy than I would have expected. So I think I'm a little bit slower on that. Whereas before, I'd just be kind of like what was in the was it the Apprentice or whatever, you're fired. What was it? Trump's TV show.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Yeah.
Like, and people were like, "What?" That would have been me. I would have been probably an 85 for being too fast at doing stuff.
I would say
Now I told numbers. You got to tell numbers too.
You're not going to like this one. I think it depends on the toxic behavior for me.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
Silo, I can go slow. You got to realize you're still gonna get your budget approved.
Right.
Or, you can be pretty flexible on where you spend it, but this division really needs that talent or that piece of equipment or whatever. A relational toxic, I'd probably jump in before they finish the sentence.
Okay.
Because gossip, that's a bad core quality.
Right.
If that's what you're about, then no one's going to trust you. I had maybe past podcast, I'm not sure, but in middle school there was I'll just use his first name. His name was Bob. And what about Bob? And you'd go down the hallway and he'd be talking to 4 or 5 people, and then like myself, you, and 2 other people were there. He'd want to break away to make sure that we weren't talking about him. Why? We were just talking about Tigers baseball or whatever, which meant the previous huddle that he was in, he was gossiping.
Sure, of course.
Or cutting someone down or making fun of someone. So I would say my response would be, if it's something that might take a little time, scarcity, maybe a silo, a couple detriments that we started off the show with, I'd probably be a little more patient. Like, just prove that, hey, extend that olive branch to help that other division, and you'll still get your resources. Someone who's attacking someone or doing a really bad job, or you got a call from maybe a vendor or customer, you're like, I'm going to have to deal with this one now. I'm not going to wait.
Yep.
So I might say relational, I'm probably 80% quick. Softer ones, maybe the ones you could kind of give a little time, I'm probably 80% wait.
What about, would you think that there'd be a factor in there, how long somebody's been a part of your organization?
No, not for me.
Okay, so if they had been in there a long period of time, are you going to be slower to pull the trigger on something? Or, because I would tend to be faster on that. If I would say, you've been with me for years and years,
yeah.
And that one, that you shouldn't have stepped across that line, and so I might be really fast on that one.
I think it would depend if it was a relational thing or maybe a resource thing.
Okay.
I'm trying to split it up, but resource thing, and you've been with me for 20 years, maybe someone told you something different.
Right.
Or you did get hurt.
Sure.
You didn't get a budget that you needed, or you're understaffed, or whatever. Relational, it wouldn't matter to me at all. You could be a 20-year veteran or been there 2 days. More teaching points for the person there 2 days. I would probably be harder on the someone like, better, you've been here. Come on, we're not doing that. That would be my split, maybe.
Okay.
I like how you do it from the standpoint of, as I'm gotten more experience, and I'm not as quick trigger. Like I had a partner in one firm that just said bad things and just lost their class, with some staff. And so I was quick to get in with that staff and say, that is not the representation of the entire partnership. And then I would go right down there, almost said downstairs, but right down there and say, hey, you can't do that. We're wasting time triaging people that did not need that treatment.
Sure.
And I know you've admitted you're not good with people, then stop being that way with people. You're confirming you're not good with people. Right. Something else, maybe a budget to get passed, that's just different. I can kind of, or someone's always asking for budget, like you're crying wolf now.
Right.
We know it's not that bad because every meeting you're asking for stuff.
Sure.
But it wouldn't matter to me if it was a partner or the janitor. Sure. To me, behavior that's bad, I'm willing to go there and say this is uncomfortable, this is tension, and I'll do it with love. But that is not going to help us. Resources you can kind of move around, or I'm using those two examples. Sure. But yeah,
if I could put just a little plug in here for a second because what you just described, if you heard Greg talking about like numerous factors that go into the consideration there, this is one of the immense values of having a coach that comes in from the outside, because you're talking about, I know this person or that pushed a button or whatever. Coaches don't have that. When we come in from the outside, we're not emotionally involved, and it allows us to observe and listen and see patterns that you might not be seeing because of your emotional investment. And so we've said it before that calling in a coach is not you waving the white flag going, I don't know how to do this. You're just saying, I need a perspective that's a little bit different, one that's neutral, doesn't have an emotional investment in there. So please, whether it's Maximize Leadership for coaching or somewhere else, consider that coach, because these things that we're talking about here, we got this whole list of, they are emotional things. As you know, if it's your business and you got a teammate over there that's doing something, it starts working in your gut. And like we talked about the physical body, if somebody bumps the part that hurts, you get mad at the person that bumped you. And they didn't even know that you were injured right there, that was bothering you. And so you might find yourself snapping at somebody that walks in your office and they're like, what did I do? So that's where we can help out.
I think the hot one would be, behavior is detrimental to other people, relational. Systems, processes, resources. I probably, even though it might be a bad habit for that manager or leader not to share, I would probably give them a chance to say, so, if you did share, what would that do to our culture?
Sure.
The behavior one, they're just stop. That's about all I got to tell you. And you keep doing it. So you have to let people go that just decide, I don't think you're going to let me go. You clearly don't want to be here, because you're hurting people, not systems, et cetera. But that, to me, they're probably a split for me. So
I love share the quote that you found. This is
culture of any organization is shaped by the worst behavior the leader is willing to accept.
Yep.
And if you allow bad behavior, detrimental behavior, toxic behavior, that will be your definition of culture.
Yep.
And then I can speak to one quick example. I remember looking to hire a pretty high up leader to take over a department, and they had heard one of my partners was toxic. That's exactly what she said. And I said, I'm not going to worry about you coming here then. If you heard that, we have something else to work on.
Yep.
Not filling that role of you being a leader with us. I got a problem in the marketplace. People think one of my partners is XYZ. Yep. And he was, but that's what we had to work on. So it wasn't like, so we heard from feedback, like an application, like she wanted to work for us. And she goes, yeah, but then I asked a few people. And I'm like, okay, so now we have to do an internal change before we have an external experience change. So it's not easy.
Nope.
It's not easy.
And those detrimental behaviors, you want to cut them off before they become toxic, but you want to do it at the right speed. You can't wait too long. You can't be too quick. So every situation is going to be unique, and that's where the leadership wisdom from you is really going to be taxed. And as I said earlier, we'd love to help you as coaches to come in. So if you check out maximizeleadership.com, there's a whole page on the website about coaching. Please fill out the form at the bottom and just say, this is what I'm dealing wrestling with in my organization or a decision I'm wrestling with personally, and we'll tell you how we can help you out as a coach. It might just be 1 or 2 meetings. It might be meeting with a couple of key people in your organization as well as with you. So just fill that out. There's no obligation there, and then we'll get back to you and let you know what we can do to help you out. We want to continue to resource you. Greg's got some books. I got some books. We got a lot more episodes that you can tap into. We got some shorter snippets of videos that come out as well. So there's a lot of places on YouTube. Subscribe there and click the bell so you're notified. Check out the other resources at Maximize Leadership on Twitter or on X. You can reach out to us at Maximize Podcast. Maybe give us some feedback on this episode or suggest other topics that we might be able to talk about and resource you. That's what we want to do, resource you, because when you get better as a leader, everyone around you is going to get better, and it's going to make this world a better place as well. So stay tuned. We got more great content that'll be coming your way real soon.
Get in touch with Craig and Greg through Twitter at Maximize Podcast or at MaximizeLeadership.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of The Craig and Greg Show.